in the Senate. And I want to talk about the blame game that's going on here because Republicans are blaming Democrats, saying they are essentially holding the government hostage over a continuing resolution that they voted before in the past. Almost all Democrats in the House and Senate voted against the CR that would keep the lights on in the government, but Democrats are pointing the finger at Republicans, saying that the right is refusing to negotiate when it comes to healthcare. I'm curious right now, where is your head at? Who do you think owns the shutdown?
Well, look, we're ready to negotiate right now, but House Republicans aren't even here. They're literally not in the building, and they haven't been all week. And I honestly do not understand that decision by Speaker Johnson to keep his members away from Washington, D.C. It simply makes no sense. We all knew that the shutdown was near. We knew that the Senate could, at the 11th hour, negotiate. And I think it was the right and responsible thing for us as members of the House to be here physically present, ready to negotiate in good faith. When you have Republicans that control the House, Republicans that control the Senate, and Donald Trump in the Oval Office, I think it's hard to say anything other than, the ball is in their court. They have the opportunity to negotiate or not negotiate. And look, healthcare for millions of Americans is worth the fight. And I think all we're saying is an incredibly reasonable topic of protecting the ACA for millions and millions of people who will be priced out of the market and won't have health insurance at all if the tax credits are allowed to expire at the end of the year. For me, that's what this has been about for some time. And as you know, Brittany, as an appropriator in the House, I'm very adamant that Congress needs to step up and protect its power of the purse. That's something that's also very, very important. But honestly, it's been a little bit surreal. And of course, Leader Jeffries went in with Schumer and Thune and Johnson on Monday afternoon. I was encouraged to see that meeting after it had been canceled previously by the president, because the president himself said that, ultimately the pressure's on the president to get everybody in the room and to try to make a deal. And our readout of that meeting, Brittany, was that the president was mostly in listening mode. On Monday afternoon, he didn't really bring any constructive, substantive proposals to the table. And then, Leader Jeffries came back and he briefed us that evening, only then for a couple hours later for the president to put out a really, frankly, mean-spirited and childish series of posts on social media, which further divided people here and made it even less likely that there'd be any sort of negotiation on Tuesday. So look, I think we need leadership in this moment. I certainly don't think the president is exhibiting that. I don't think the Speaker of the House is exhibiting that by not even having his members present here in the Capitol to even have a discussion.
I think House Republicans would argue, they would say, hey, we voted on this CR. It is a clean bill. We aren't jamming GOP policies on it. Now Democrats are trying to jam their policies, their healthcare reforms on this. Healthcare is an important issue. We want to talk about this. I mean, maybe they would say that part, but we should talk about this. It can't get fixed overnight. What would you say to that? Do you think that there is a world in which a clean CR could potentially soon pass and then these negotiations could continue?
Well, I take exception with the clean CR frame for all of this, because a clean CR would have maintained the spending levels that were agreed upon by then Speaker McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi, Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, and Chuck Schumer. Actually, two years ago, they agreed to a 2-year deal, and then in March of this year, Republicans reneged on the terms of that deal with the CR back in March that I didn't vote for at that time. Ultimately, Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate agreed to it. But a clean CR would adhere to the levels in December of last year, not March of this year. That's number one. And number two is there's a massive factor, which is in the summer, the Republicans passed their reconciliation bill they call the Big Beautiful Bill. We can dispute the characterization of its beauty, but what's not in dispute is that they did not, as part of that, extend the ACA policies to keep millions and millions of people on health care. And it has real world impacts. We're not, it's very easy to just point fingers or cast blame. But the reality is that healthcare premiums for those on the ACA are going to more than double. There was just and hopefully you can see this, Brittany, but there was a study yesterday by the Kaiser Family Foundation, nonpartisan study. People that were paying $888 a year on average are now going to have to pay over $1,900 a year for their premiums. If you're a couple making 85 grand and you're 60 years of age, your premiums will go up $22,600, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. So what it will mean, again, is that millions of people, including hundreds of thousands of Californians, are going to be priced out of health insurance. And what that will do is it will raise premiums across the board. In terms of there being more time, well, we've had months now. This has been an issue that should have been sorted out back in the summer. It wasn't. We've been talking about this for months. And frankly, I haven't seen any movement in August, September, now into October on it. People are getting their notices now. The actual letters in the mail saying your premiums are going to go up. Again, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, on average of 114% increase in premiums. Those letters are going out now. This needs to be addressed and dealt with now, not in November, not in December, now. And I truly do believe that in my gut that the American people agree with this. They know that healthcare for millions of Americans really is on the line here. And I am willing to fight for healthcare for my constituents. I think it's the least that any member of Congress can do when they represent hundreds of thousands of people to make sure that their constituents will not lose healthcare. The last thing I'll mention on this, there's been a lot of bad faith discussion around or claim around undocumented immigrants being the beneficiary. That's what the president seems to be alluding to in every opportunity. It is cut and dried, absolute law, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, that undocumented immigrants cannot receive care under the Affordable Care Act, cannot receive federal dollars under the Affordable Care Act. Couldn't yesterday, can't today, won't be able to tomorrow. This whole thing is a red herring to distract from the truth of the situation, which is that the administration has decided to prioritize a massive tax cut that disproportionately benefits the very wealthiest Americans at the expense of health care for millions of Americans. Those are the facts. That is irrefutable, irrefutable. Brittany, I will offer to debate any of my colleagues, House and Senate, on your show anytime to discuss this.